Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Folks, it is raining kittens and puppies out there. No, it's not even cats and dogs. It's like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Anyway, uh, I have to build a shelving unit. Now, not big, grandiose shelving unit. This is basically for our priceless treasures, otherwise known as knickknacks, because apparently we have become collectors of knickknacks, and we don't have a place to put them in our new house. So, real simple build, except I'm going to complicate it, and I'm using everybody's favorite wood, pine. The reason I'm using pine is that most of the trim work and most of the decor, I don't know about decor, anyway, a lot of it's pine. All of my kitchen cabinets are pine. Beautiful, but pine. So it would look weird if I built this out of oak or cherry or something like that. And the other problem of it is I have a benchtop joiner, and for me to joint a piece of oak to the length of 6 foot, nah, ain't gonna happen. So I went to, I don't remember which one it was. I went south, so it must have been Lowe's. I went to Lowe's. This is going to be made out of 1x8, which of course, as you know, is not 1x8. It is, holy mackerel. They're really ripping you off on this stuff. It is 3/4 by 7. And I'm going to tell you what they're charging for these boards, they are junk. We searched the entire little fenced off area trying to find the straightest boards that we can find, and there ain't none. So basically, like I said, it's raining. My drawing for this project is in the house. I am not. So I called my wife and she texted me a picture of the drawing so I know what my measurements are. This thing's going to be 15 inches wide. It's going to be 6 feet tall, and it's going to have approximately 4 shelves in it, because there's going to be spacing and math, and you know how I feel about that. So first thing I need to do is make sure these are actually at 6 foot long. I have to make 2 of these, and conceivably they should match. So first thing is I got to make sure that the boards are, my uprights are 6 feet long. Okay, managed to find 2 that were actually relatively straight and flat. These 3 over here, twisted like my spine. So right off the rip, I got to cut dados into these, or rabbits, whichever you want to call it. I don't know. I use a dado blade to cut them, but it's not what it's called. It's a rabbit. I got to cut slots in these. Okay. My wife said, "Are you just going to pocket hole it?" And no, I'd like to do something a little. I'm working with pine, so I'd like to do something a little bit better than that. So I'm going to rabbit joint these. I don't even know if that's the right term. And for all of the shelves. Now, I could do this on the table saw, but because I'm working with a 6 foot board, I think that's going to be a little bit challenging. Yeah, challenging. So I think I'm going to use miter saw, set it that slot, do it that way. Should be fine. But I have to, now is when I have to get my measurements for where I want my shelves. Yay. So let me figure that out, and in 4 hours I'll come back and let you know. That's probably what it'll be. Math. We know in algebra class I said there is never ever a time when I'm going to use this. Maybe. Thanks to my buddy though for getting me through that class. Okay, so actually that only took about 20 minutes. 2 phone calls. Didn't relate to this. I didn't phone a friend. What I'm trying to say. So I went ahead, took my 2 flat boards, laid them out, made sure they were 72. One was not. So now I had to get the old manual for the miter saw to figure out how to set the depth stop. Got that. Locked it in. One thing I had noticed was that if you're setting a depth stop, at least on mine anyway, the Hercules brand, you have to have a spacer because it's not going to cut all the way to the side of the board. You have to bring it out about, I brought mine out about 1.5 inches, and that'll allow you to cut that depth all the way through. So now all I got to do is cut this, and then I'm ready to cut shelves, which should all be the same size. Okay, so my first cut is for what's going to be the bottom shelf or the top shelf, depending on which way I flip it. But I'm not going to cut right on the line. I want to cut in a little bit, make sure everything's actually straight the way it's supposed to be. You can see the spacers that I have, nothing major. Got to turn this thing on like that. It actually looks pretty good. I'm just going to keep going. There it is. Okay, that's a nice fit. All I have to do is do that, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 more times. All right, so if you're wondering, yeah, it's a little, this I guess I call it a combination blade. Teeth go this way. So I will clean that up a little bit, but it seems to be working well. So I'm just going to keep going. Okay, got all the rabbets, betas, slots. Point is they're all cut. Now I just need to clean them up. I broke out the good chisels for this. And when I say good chisels, what I mean is this is the set that I bought from Harbor Freight. And they're still kind of sharp. That says 3/4. And I wonder if I should use this because it's going to tell me how far off I am. Okay, so I got these cleaned up. I think they're fine. I just ran the chisel flat, you saw, and I'm just trying to get the grooves so that they're relatively the same. Anyway, so now I'm down to shelves, and the nice thing about this is everything is being built to whatever the width of this thing was when I bought it from Lowe's. So 7 1/4, I don't have to do any measuring, I just have to cut my length. This entire thing has to be 15 inches wide. It can't be any wider than that. And when it's done, I'll take you in and show you why. It has to fit into something very specific. So, my rabbets, betas, slots are 3/8 deep, which is half of 3/4. Okay, so I have to take that into consideration. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cut my shelves. It doesn't matter if it's 15. I'm going to go 14 1/4. Okay, and that'll give me my overall width of 15 like I need. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting those now. I'm doing this side around. if I've learned anything over the past couple of years, it is you don't start slinging glue until you do a dry fit. It takes me a while, but I'll learn. So, and I mean to tell you, it's bad enough that I'm going to have trouble getting these to fit. This is horrible. I mean, it's easily an eighth. Let's skip this one. I'm almost there. Except for that knot that just fell off. Okay. We'll leave the ends off. That's what we're going to do. Remember I said one of them shelves was going to be a little bit different? There you go. Golly, I hope that's the problem. Sure. Oh, fits like a sock. Where's my hammer at? Okay, so with a little bit of finesse, it will go together. I really just wanted to glue this together and not have any fasteners. And I might still be able to, that's fairly solid, I'm surprised. And I might still be able to do that. The only thing I might do, well, no, we got clamps. So I was gonna say the only thing I might do is shoot some 18 gauge in it, but I really don't want to. So, and I think if I laid this down and put it together, it'd probably be easier anyway. Now, anywho's, what I got to do now is pick a stain color. And my wife told me I could pick the stain as long as it was within her color palette. Okay. Provincial One Pine goes really dark, which is her favorite color. Everything in this room is shades of brown, except for the dining room table, which is oak with a cherry stain. I don't know why they do that. So I'm going to sand up probably that lighter board, the one that looks like a rainbow, and do some color patches on that and see what I come up with. Okay, it's a new day. It's already 83 degrees. I'm going to be a wet putty ball by the time I'm done with this. Anyway, ran to the Depot of Homes this morning, and here's why. I did some test colors to see which one would best fit the, atmosphere of the room. Listen to me being an interior designer. No. Anyway, what I realized is that I forgot that staining pine is disgusting and horrible. So, first time ever using this, I went and bought pre-stained wood conditioner. Now, I've heard a lot of guys on YouTube talk about this, and they say that it does a really nice job. So I thought, hey, it is pine, but you know what? Can we make it look better? So I'm going to try it. I have a board coated over there with the conditioner, and then I'm going to put my stain colors on and see which one I want to choose, but that can't stop us from moving forward. Charge ahead. Anyway, while I was there at the Depot of Homes, I decided to peruse their pine board area. And for one thing, their boards were in a lot nicer shape than Lowe's, and that shape was flat. So I picked up two more. They're beautiful, flat. They're going to be the uprights for the second shelf like this that I have to build, which allows me now to find the flattest boards I have. I'm recutting all of these shelves. because these things are horrible. So once I get all the shelves cut, then I can start sanding. Um, the wood is S4S, which means it's surfaced on 4 sides. I believe I might be able to get away with just running I'm going to try running just a 220 on it and see if that's good enough, or if I should do a 120 and then a 220. I don't know. Let me get these cut. Okay, I got everything sanded. So what that leaves me with is the glue up. I have my shelves, new shelves cut. They look so much better. These boards are already pretty flat. So went and got me a new bottle of glue. Decided to go with the Type On 2 this time. It's water resistant instead of water. I don't know, is Type On 3 waterproof? It says it's waterproof. But as you know, I let glue freeze. That's what I do. So I went ahead and got a new bottle. And I think my game plan here is to glue the shelves in this piece, flip it, glue the joints in that one, and put them together and then clamp it. That's the plan. Is that going to work? No idea. Really, it looks good on paper. Interesting development. Boards from Home Depot are not necessarily the same thickness as the boards from Lowe's. So some of these have a little bit of a gap, a lot of a gap, if I'm being honest. We'll work around it. It's kind of glued up. It's not going to be perfect. Is anything I build ever perfect? No. And I can't look. Oh, I do have more clamps. Well, I was going to say, I don't have enough clamps. But I do. They're just not unpacked yet. Okay, got it in clamps. I put 90-degree clamps on it just because, you know, I realized after clamping everything that I never checked for square. And, you know, using bud wood, I don't know if it's ever going to be square, but it makes me feel better. So I'm going to get this one out of the way, and I'm going to start on the other one. You've already seen everything up to this point. So I will bring you back in, I guess, whenever I'm ready to stain. Okay, new day. Currently upper 70s, supposed to get to the mid to upper 80s. It's still morning, but not by much, and I would like to get what I need to get done out here done now. By the time I got out of here yesterday, it was hot, it was miserable. Sun was coming down, baking my brain. Even though I put some tint up on the window, bad. Anyway, as you can see in the foreground there's one. Here's another one. I did get both of them built. Through the clamping, of course, on softwood, there's going to be little dents and stuff, so I have to resand them all again. I have some glue that I need to get out because, as careful as I was, You guys know how glue ups go. If it's more than two pieces together, it becomes frantic, and that's what happened yesterday. Trying to get everything lined up. I had one joint that was it was tighter than it needed to be. That involved a hammer and angriness, and because I already had glue on it, I couldn't run it over to the saw and take off a half a blade. But it listened after about the third hit. So that's what I'm up against now. I'm not going to bother recording sanding and pulling the dried up glue out. But here's my question though. You got dried up glue up against a joint. What do you guys use to get that out? I know what I'm going to try to use. And if it works, I'll tell you. If it doesn't work, I'll tell you too. I'm just curious. How do you guys deal with that? I was going to put blue tape up against the joint and hopefully to get the glue to go on that instead, and I forgot to. Norm wouldn't do that. In the new Yankee workshop, he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't forget. Anyway, then again, he wouldn't have to beat his joints together with a hammer either. Okay, sanding is done. Got all the glue. Hey, my plan didn't work. It normally does, but it didn't. I talked before about the Red Devil paint scraper. It's an 1.5 inch paint scraper. That's what it is. Except we used to sharpen them to razor sharpness. I didn't have the patience to do that, and so it didn't really work. So I used a chisel and then went back and sanded it. Sanded all of this to 220. As I said, it was previously sanded before I put it together, so it wasn't that bad. Just kind of even up some of the joints and stuff like that. So now, anyway, I have to remember this stuff. One more thing. If you're sweating, don't sweat on your project. It will stain the wood an odd color, okay? Try to be mindful of that. It seems like it goes without saying, but it's now I don't know, it's now 80 degrees and it's hot in here. I got fans running all over the place. But I saw evidence of where I was touching this with a sweaty hand yesterday. So just a simple thing. Don't sweat on your projects. Anyway, we're now ready for this pre-stained wood conditioner. I'm using Varathane. I normally use Minwax. Home Depot doesn't carry Minwax for the most part. I think Lowe's does. I went to Home Depot. So anyway, what I'm going to do is do whatever's going to be down. And I bought these things off of Emu, Limu, and Doug, Timu. They're just finishing pyramids. And I don't use them very often, but this would be a classic example of where I can. So loosely, the game plan, I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along. But first off, we got to get cranking here. Okay, here we go. You want to get your head right down next to the can while you're doing this, so you're breathing in all that beautiful odor. I'm hoping that shows up. That is apparently the current temperature in my shop. I did break down and put a little window AC unit in, but it's going to struggle. It is going to struggle. I got a plan. I know what the problem is. So the problem is, it's cool to say, I got a skylight in my shop. But then you're a bug under a microscope. I put tinting on it. It's automotive window tint, and there's legalities to that. They can only go so dark. So I've just about had it. So I have this nice shiny brand new tarp, and it's time to block some sun out. If I fall, you guys get to see it. Yep. Okay. no, we want it back here, though. We want to block all the sun. Oh, that'll be all right. Oh, whoa, easy now. Now I just need to make my way down without blocking the light, which might be a whole different problem. Okay, so yeah, I know, it looks janky, and it wasn't quite long enough to get the whole window, but more importantly, the sun ain't shining down on my cranium no more. Golly, I mean to tell you, it was hot. Yes, there's a vent up there. I'm hoping all the hot air is going to escape that. That's the plan. I don't know if it's going to work. Back to the project. Now, as I said, reading the instructions on the can, which I don't normally do, because why? It did not say anything about sanding in between the sealer and the stain. Now, I did, I don't even know where it's at now. I did some samples to see what it would look like. And as I had said, the stain just seems to lay on top. It doesn't really penetrate, you know, which means you're getting none of the grain pattern. You're not getting any of that. Everyone that I've seen that's used this, they did a light sand on it. The highest paper I have is 220. So that's what I'm going to use. Put these back here. This was the towel I was using when I was doing that before, just to keep the sweat from running onto the project. Mercy. All right. Okay, got them all lightly sanded, brushed them off. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're ready for color. Not orange. And those of you who watched, I have a problem with putting gloves on backwards. Okay. Those of you who know the wifey poo know that she has a favorite stain color. And it's called Minwax Provincial. She didn't pick that this time. I know, it's hard to believe. We are going with the Rust-Oleum oil-based wood stain aged wheat. I don't know what immature wheat looks like, much less aged wheat, but that's what she picked, and that's what we're going with. As I said, I am not doing this with a brush. That will take way too long. And I don't know what my problem is with reading directions lately. I don't like it, but I read the directions on this, and it said stir before use. So I did the right thing, and I just shook the can up. Oh, you can't do that, bubbles, shut it. No. No. Using a lint-free rag. Yeah. It was a tea towel last week. This stain seems like it has a lot of color pigments in it. And it feels like it almost feels like it's going on dry. Wow, this is weird stain. It's almost like paint. Okay, so it's actually been a day or two. I don't remember. But let's talk about the stain. Use the pre-stain conditioner. I can't say I'm overly thrilled with it. Okay, I don't know if it's the pre-stain conditioner or the stain I used, which is very possible. Yes, I can see where it did sink into some of the grain. But I'm not overly thrilled with it. I don't like it. But I'm not going to go back and redo it. That's for sure. I ain't got no time for that, because Wifey Poo is patiently, almost to the point of impatiently waiting on these. Again, don't have a really good game plan on this because of the way they're built. uh, I'm going to be polying something in an up and down manner, and I'm not overly thrilled with that because that's when you get runs, and I don't want runs, but we're going to do what we can. I am using something. Here it is. Golly. Minwax fast drying polyurethane. Oil base. I don't know what makes it fast drying. I talked seemingly long ago about this. This is a satin that I chose, which is not, it's not dull and it's not shiny. It's, you could almost call it semi-gloss, but in the polyurethane world, it's satin. Usually, you'll need to stir this up because satin is it's like a pigment. It's like an addition, and it'll settle at the bottom. And that's fine. You'll still get polyurethane, but it'll be glossier than you want. Personally, I don't recommend gloss for anything. It's like a car. It's like painting a car black. Everybody that's got a classic muscle car wants it black. I don't blame them. It's a great color for a muscle car, but you better make sure that body is 100% dead on straight, or you're going to see that thing waving at you from a mile away. Well, it's kind of the same with furniture. If there's any defects in what you're building, gloss is just going to highlight that. So that's why I'm going with a semi-gloss. Plus, I think it's nicer looking. So let me get all prepped up here. I'm probably just going to turn some music on. I'm not going to show you the whole deal because that's incredibly boring. I'm already falling asleep just thinking about it. I have the fan in, exhausting out, because the other thing I noticed was, man, the fumes on this stuff was horrible. So we're going to work on that too. And enough talking, let's just get to it. Okay, so here's a great example of what I was talking about. That is basically your satin additive, if you will. So that's why if you actually want a satin finish, you really have to stir this. Okay, the finishing is finally done. 2 coats of polyurethane. It took me a long time to do it. 1, because I had things going on. 2, because it was miserable hot. Still is. It's currently, well, that clock's wrong. It's currently about 10 o'clock in the morning and it's already 80 degrees. So I'm trying to work in the morning for a couple hours before it gets too bad. But anyway, now the next step, I want to talk about legs, not like ZZ Top legs. These have to be elevated. They're not going to sit flat on the floor. So I needed to find legs. I went to Amazon, right? That's where you buy everything. And I wanted to get wooden legs to put on them, but they were outrageously expensive. And I couldn't get them in the length that I wanted. And then I ran across these things. Now, these are steel legs or metal legs, which I wasn't at first excited about. And that's really not the right length that I need. But this is kind of cool. They're adjustable, in case you're not picking up on what I'm saying. You just unscrew it to the length that you want. And these are absolutely perfect, especially in this case where this is sitting on a brick floor. So if you know anything about brick floors, you can't make anything not wobble. So I can adjust this. If it has a wobble, I can just adjust one leg down, make it right. Like I said, I got these on Amazon. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name because it's whatever it is. I will try to remember to put a link in the description if I can figure out how. But essentially now, I got to keep putting that down or it's not going to fit in the box. I'm to a point now where these get put on, the shelves get set in place, and it's done. But it is going to get hot out here really quick, and I need to take these in the house and kind of loosely set them in place so I can see exactly where these legs have to go. So give me a couple minutes and we'll pick it back up in the house. Okay, so 2 things I noticed right off the bat. One, the color's not even right. But we're going to say it contrasts the opposing color. The other thing I noticed is don't assume that anything is straight. Kind of like the junky wood that I bought. Don't assume that your build, your house, wherever you're putting this, is straight. Now, I'm not blaming it on the house. It could very well be my junky shelf that I built. But I measured this, and I'll give you a look at the distance here in a second. Essentially, from this post to this door frame, where I measured it was 15 inches. But as you go along, it's not. So that's okay. The only difference is that this is going to stick out from the wall about 3/8 of an inch. Not a deal breaker. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and take this down, and then I'll show you how this is set up and what my game plan was when I was doing this. Okay, so this is essentially where that's going. What I wanted it to do, let me get down here, maybe I'll be able to get back up. I wanted it to originally sit on, this is a step off, I wanted it to sit on the step, and then we decided we'd have it be above the quarter round, give us that extra 3/4 of an inch, which is why the adjustable legs come into play. So it's going to be basically from post to door frame. I did do some measuring. I am actually a smidgen wider than I'm supposed to be. So there's part of the problem. So now we just put it in place, make sure the legs are going to go where I want them to before I screw them into place. And let's get this thing done. Okay. Now, this is long enough that I couldn't get my drill in there. So what I did was mark the 4 screws where, like with a pencil, like the holes where they were supposed to go. Ran a screw into it, like took the leg off, ran a screw into it, and then I can just put it on with a hand screwdriver. Hand screwdriver? Man, traditional, whatever. I can put it in with a screwdriver, is what I'm trying to say. And that way, you know, you don't have to struggle and strip the screws out. Much, much easier. I did not screw them in all the way, so there is going to be, I don't know, some new threaded, I don't know. There we go. One down, 40 million to go. Okay, they're done. Took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. Mainly because I sent a picture to the wifey poo who's out of town, and she said, no, 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 that thing needs to be flush to the back of the wall. So, you know, happy wife, happy life, they say. To combat that problem on this one was a lot easier. Basically, I just kept the blade that was in the table saw and made one pass, and it fit in. The problem with the one on the opposite side, the measurements are not the same, not even close. This is 15, that is not. So I actually put a dado blade in to take off what I needed to on that side. Anyway, they both fit now. The color is not even close to being right, but we're okay with it. I did run a screw up here through the shelf and into these beams just for safety's sake, because grandkids. But as far as the build itself goes, I'm happy with the build. I would have been happier with the build if I would have used something other than pine, because it's just twisted and warped and rainbowed and bananaed. But you know what? Every build's a learning experience. I was not good at the rabbet joint. Getting them to line up, getting them to fit right, any of that. I was just not good at it. So I think I've gotten better at it. So, you know, in the end, the wife likes it, and we can put stuff up on them and get it off of the places where it ain't supposed to be. So, hey, hopefully I'll have a video next week, but it is also church conference week, so we'll have to see what the timing is on that. Not sure. But if anything, maybe I'll put it out a day late. I don't know. But you guys, you'll be fine. So, hey, thanks for hanging out with me for what turned out to be about a 3-week project. Not so much for you guys, but for me. I do appreciate you whenever you guys stick around and watch what I'm doing. I'll see you on the next one. God bless.